to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Chris Scales, David Flowers, Greg Hectus, Tony Groves, William Gibson. Hey guys, big turnout.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Mike.
All right. Well, welcome. Let's talk right about NASCAR iRacing series right away. Kansas. Man, I'll start out. Wednesday fixed P12 for myself. I ran top 10, actually top 5 a little bit most of the day. Actually got loose and someone drove through me, knocked me back to 19th. I ended up working my way back to 12th, and not a bad finish for me. I think that was my best of the week, actually. So it seems like that. It's always the first race I seem to get my best result. Greg, you ran with me as well as Chris. Greg, you got a top 10. Good job.
Yeah, that's the only one I want to talk about this week, I think.
P9, and you had 5 minutes of damage when you finished.
Yeah, that was an attrition race. I think just letting people crash themselves out, but I got it wrecked early. Story of my life.
Yeah, and then Chris, not a good result for you, really?
No, the first half of the week was a little rough. Yeah, I don't remember much about that one. Some of the ones later in the week was a little bit more eventful. But yeah, that first half of the week, I was just learning that track. That place was really fun to get around once I got used to it. Man, running up the wall like that on a mile and a half was a little crazy at first.
Yep. Well, that night in the Open, I got a P23. I got wrecked. It had a bit of damage. But once you have that damage, the car is just slow and tight, and you're really not competitive after that. Greg, you started P5 but finished P20. Last lap restart actually killed the race.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly on that one, I got turned because that was the one I dove through the center, and a guy was complaining that he missed a shift, so I moved up to go through the center, and then he ended up going and got into me going into the corner as soon as he got up to speed. And then blamed me for the wreck.
All right, and David Flowers, Mr. One and Done, comes into Kansas, and you get what? A P5. Best result out of the entire team.
I got phoenixed again. I was in P2. We were running late. I had like 40 laps on my tires. I was reeling the leader in, no problem. And what do we get? Late caution. And I'm like, okay. And my car was only really, really good on the long run. It took over 20 laps to come in, and we had 8 laps left. And by the time we finished, I fell back from 2nd to 5th. So I could have matched my best result, but didn't. And like I said, I got phoenixed. It kind of sucked. But it was a good result overall.
Yeah, great run. And I know there was a big effort from some of the guys in the team to try to get a better result than that. But we didn't do it, so you got the best result of the week.
I tried so damn hard.
I
raced my butt off the end of the week, but couldn't do it.
Chris had a great shot to do it, but Chris did what he normally does. He overdrives the car, get in the wall, and screws it for everybody else. Because we could have had an epic rivalry this week, but no, somebody had to screw it up.
Yeah, that was something. Thursday night, it says I got a P21. I was wrecked out. I was the first caution, which is always the worst. 14 minutes damage, okay? And it was a guy from Italy, actually. I went and looked at who the entry was, and it said Italy. He came up and got my left rear. I was not down in his lane. He got into me. That got me in the wall. I got clipped again by another guy, and then another guy came by and T-boned me and finished me off. And anyway, P21. Chris, you got P9. I think that was your best of the week.
Yeah, that was a pretty good race. I think I can't remember if Flowers is in that race with me or just racing in a different split. But yeah, there's a particular guy that he's battled with in the past that And I drove my butt off to get that P9 because I was in a car with a busted motor. It wasn't real bad, but man, yeah, I really held that guy off.
Good old Milton.
Yeah.
All right. And then Thursday fixed, I ended up P16 after running 20th or so most of the race. I suck, is how I felt. I was car number 34, so I had moved up into a higher split, basically, with that really good car number. And I was a little out of my league with those guys, and I ran what I deserved. Anyway, P16. And then teammate Brandon Newhouse, who we haven't seen online very much because life is getting in the way, but he did race. He said there was a late caution. The top four stayed out. They spun their tires, and we all went 4 to 6 wide. It was crazy with no practice either. He didn't give a result of how he finished. But Chris, you got crashed, and then your sim crashed, and more crash in P31. Ouch.
Yeah, I got hit with a weird bug this week that was kicking me out of some of the A races. But yeah, I was running really good in that race. I kind of figured out the track toward the end of the week, but just got caught up in somebody else's mess, and then yeah, the sim crash finished me off.
All right, and then Will Gibson, you made a rare start as well, and ran with us. And man, all I hear from Will all night is this feels like dirt racing. This is awesome.
Hit the wrong button there. Yeah, so it was a ton of fun. I don't do a lot of the NIS racing. I don't want to get in other people's way that practice all week, and I don't have as much time to put the effort in as I wish I could. But I got out there, just wanted to have some fun, not worry about IR and safety rating, and man, that's just a fun track. I feel like it's my favorite out of all the mile and a halves, and dodged some wrecks, got a little overconfident going through one, and basically launched the car into space. It was an idiot mistake, but it was still a ton of fun.
That was an epic video, by the way. I was spotting for Will, and just to see his car to just kind of hit the wall, go up in the air, turn sideways, go end over end, and then just watch the sim just freak out and go, you're back in your pit because I don't even know how to handle that.
He just got shot off the planet.
He did. It was hysterical.
Yeah, and what was really weird is in the VR, it just started shuddering. So like I was looking down at my dash, or like the dash came up to like my line of sight, and it started shuddering. I'm like, wow, man, I wrecked hard. And then next thing I look up to look out the window, which would be like my head at like a 45-degree angle, because it was all out of whack. And I'm looking at the entirety of the track, like the entire mile and a half.
Like
and
from
then,
way up high.
Yeah, and then instantly straight to pit road. It said like 30 minutes of towing time at that point. I don't know where they came up with that number, so I called it. It was a lot of fun before that wreck, and I probably could have checked up a little sooner to dodge it. I just saw the guy start to spin to the bottom at the last minute. He kind of veered up, and just one of those dumb rookie mistakes, but it was a lot of fun until then, and felt like I could have had a good top 10 car.
Yeah, that was funny. Greg, you got a P20 that night, and then a P34 the next day. Ouch.
The Friday night one was I don't know what happened with my shifter. That was the start of the race. I went from first to second to third, and then when I went to shift to fourth, it went into the fourth part on the 8 shifter, and in the sim it went to second for some reason. So I blew the motor in front of the field and got turned, and I had to do a lot of apologizing there.
All right, and then Sunday morning, teammate Jonathan Wall, who we rarely see, he made a very rare appearance. I don't even think he was in TeamSpeak, but he did make a note that he did run NIS and got wrecked by Colin Keister in the top split. And then Greg, you ran as well, finished P28 that morning, and then 17th that night.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to seeing Kansas again.
Yeah, that's a tough week for you, huh?
Good thing with the problem was though I had a setup that I could go from the front to the back and back to the front again, no problem, and just got caught up in everything all week. It was a tough week to get going.
You didn't beat top 20. Oh, you got a 17th.
I got the 9th earlier in the week.
That's right. Well, and then Sunday night I ran as well, P12. This race, I went from the back to the front many times. I felt like it, you know, and I was high as third at one point. It just seems like I get caught up in wrecks, and I'd end up in the back, and then I would caution would come out, and I'd gain all these spots. I don't know why. It seems like I always gain spots on cautions, and I just worked my way back up. But P12, and that was a fun race because I was passing people, and I was in a very competitive room for who I am. Chris, you ran. I don't have where you finished.
Yeah, I didn't jot it down. I was upset after the race, but that's the race that Flowers mentioned earlier. I was getting around those late races a lot better at Kansas. I was having a blast racing there, and did really well that race. Started in the back, drove to the front, was running the top 5. Had a late race restart. I started I think 5th with less than 10 to go. Got up to 3rd, and the car was really quick for a few laps, and then it would start pushing really bad. So I wanted to get past this guy before it started pushing, and I turned with like 3 laps to go. Turned the wheels a little bit too much because I was trying to get under him and spun myself out. But I had a top 5 easy, but it just wasn't enough because Flowers already had that 5th. I really wanted to get a better finish and wrecked myself trying.
My problem was I'd come up off 2 on the inside, and I'm trying to like wash up in front of the guy, and the guy not, and I think I'm clear, but I'm not, and then he clips me, and I am in the wall. That happened to me multiple times this week, where I don't know why. I don't know if the spotter's not calling me clear correctly, or what, or I'm just sucking, or what. But I had that problem multiple times. But it's hard on the bottom. I was always wanting to get to the top as soon as I could.
Yeah, it was terrible at the bottom. That was the biggest problem I had there. Is like I had a hard time passing people because I could only run that top line. Anytime I went to the bottom, I was just too slow.
Yeah, I still feel like Kansas is a little bit broken as far as how fast you can drive it into that corner, you know, on the top, and it's just not too realistic, I think.
I'm pretty sure it's broken because you just feel like you're floating through that tri-oval. I mean, it's ridiculous how quick it is, but man, it's a lot of fun anyway. It can stay broken as far as I'm concerned.
Right. All right, let's talk Road to Pro trucks. Charlotte, Tony, you got a P18 and you put terrible.
Oh, yeah. It was just a really bad, crappy race. I don't know. I wasn't even doing all that great, but I ended up getting used up through a corner by a lap car. He just drove it in too hard, and basically, a few laps later, my motor just blew, and that was pretty much the end of my race.
It seems like it's inevitable that the motor blows, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, and I did take a lot of front end damage because he used me right up into the wall, and then I come down and hit another wall, and yeah. So I was expecting it to blow. I was like, I'll just see what happens. So, P18. It was a wash with the IR, so it wasn't, too terrible. But
well, 18 out of 34, right?
Yeah. 34 to 37. But you get those races, but you never like them, right?
Yeah, and then I got Chris. You got a 16th on the trucks.
Yeah, and that was all my fault. I had Will crew chiefing me for that race, so I had everything I needed to have a good run, and I just kind of committed myself to the bottom of the track always. And I mean, it was really fast for a few laps, and then start pushing. And if I would have looked around a little bit, I would have found some speed a little bit higher up. And I accidentally found when I was trying to get around a guy late in the race with like 20 laps to go or something. I just screwed up. I didn't look around enough, and once the tires were worn a little bit, you could get a little bit more speed.
Yeah, the way that race was playing out. Sorry, I was gonna say the way the race was playing out is we would find the rhythm on like about lap 17, 18, 19 on the tires. We'd hit lap 20 and just really be fast, and then lap 21 we'd have a caution, or 22. So there was really never a chance to let the truck kind of open up, and you got kind of tied up in a couple other people's messes. That was the first race I think I've helped crew chief and spot since I've kind of redone my setup to make doing that kind of stuff a little easier. And I was getting a ton of great information. I think everything was working good. And that one late restart, that guy kind of tried to slide job you, cut up in front of you, smacked the wall, and came down. And I think that damage is what kept us from a top 10 for sure.
Yeah, and Tony had said that he had found the high line once the tires had worn in a little bit, but I had looked for it a couple of times. But the problem is, if you didn't hit it right, you were just it would kill the truck. But yeah, once I figured it out, it's just too little, too late. The truck was too broken.
It's a tough series, Road to Pro. All right, let's talk official Formula Renault 2.0. David Flowers, Will Gibson, you guys ran P11, P18.
Yeah, I just bought the Renault literally the other night. I bought it and I bought the Lara 18 to run Indy, and I was like, why not? So I jumped in a race with Will, and I started in the back and worked my way up at Spa to P11, and Will started in the front and unfortunately got into like the biggest car crash I've seen in a while. There were cars everywhere. I managed to pick my way through. But yeah, it was bad for Will. He was out in about 3 seconds, unfortunately.
Yeah, one of the things since I've started iRacing, I've always been very timid at the start of races and usually can scrap together a good finish. And I've really been trying to work on that, be more aggressive on the starts. And we had a great start, got through turn 1 there clean. On the inside, got through a Rouge, going up the back stretch. And people were battling. I was minding my own line kind of in the middle. I had a run on the guy on the inside, the guy on the outside, threw a crazy block, got in the grass, came back onto the track side by side with me. I had about half a car length on him. Was perfectly running my line. He was perfectly running his, and he just turned straight into me and wrecked both of us and everyone behind us. It was really dumb. I almost protested it, but it's like, let it go. Let's move on to the next one, not stress it out.
It's one of those racing deals.
Yeah, but I was really proud of the start I had and how aggressive I was. I feel like that's that next step of comfortability I need to get with the other iRacing members and the people around me to start picking up more wins and good finishes, because you can only do so much starting from the back. Top fives get old after a while.
Yeah, be careful how aggressive you get, though, because you'll end up like me in that truck race. And I forgot to mention, too, also, or that A-car race at Kansas, that race that I spun off at the very end, one of Greg's friends, Michael Morley, was in that race with me, and that was another reason I was pushing, because he had already won one, and Greg was pushing me to beat this guy, and he was leading the race. Here I am fighting for third, and I cause a caution that brings out the caution that gives him that win, actually. So be careful with the aggression.
Thanks.
Yeah, my bad.
All right, let's go on. Peak is off this week. Next week, Charlotte. Will, tell us about World of Outlaws Late Model Championship started this week.
Yeah, so they're running bi-weekly. You have the sprint cars 1 week, late models the next. And this week was the first late model race. They ran at Volusia. Howard Weaver actually won the race. He held off a late race charge from James Eden. The race was Monday, 50-lap main event, which was nice. I believe the sprint cars do 30 laps. The race went really smooth. The first caution didn't come out till lap 19, which was really good and fun to watch. And then the final 14 laps kind of went caution-free, or they did go caution-free. Howard Weaver pretty much dominated the race. There was some really, really good battles for second, third, fourth. But James Eden at the end there, he started fifth, fell back as far as eighth, was third on the final restart with 14 to go. Got all the way up to Weaver's bumper, but just didn't have enough time. I felt like he probably could have tried to move him if he wanted to, but it was still really good. Fun racing. I think it's a great start to their season and a World of Outlaw Late Model Championship.
Yeah, isn't it $1,000 to the winner too?
Yeah, that was I actually skipped over that here and cut it and forgot to put it back. But yeah, $1,000 to the winner, and yeah, Howard was just in a league of his own. yeah, but it was just really, really good racing, and I feel
Ton
like
of fun to watch. I watched some of the video, and man, it's
yeah,
good racing.
I thought the late models would have a better race than they did. As far as 2-3 lines of racing, multiple grooves, and I feel like Volusia as a track kind of promotes that because it's really odd shaped. It's hard to explain, but for the most part, Howard kind of checked out, but everywhere else was good racing, and yeah, no, it was really good, and it was nice to see just those few cautions. Most of the race ran under green.
Yep. And Tony, what do you got next? World Championship.
Yeah, Grand Prix World Championships. Mac Backham takes his second win of the season at Monza. Now, most of us here at Team Tifosi and the iRacers Lounge don't follow. I don't even know what these letters stand for. So, but it's IWC GPS. Now, if you want more info on these world championships, the Simon Racing Report podcast is a great show that follows the series. So you don't get some dumbass like me trying to figure this all out. So if you follow F1 and iRacing, this is the series to follow, and the Simon Racing Report is the best podcast to keep up with that series.
Hey, Tony, real quick. It's the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Oh, there you go. Anyway, what I noticed is the lack of the names that we normally see in the top 3 or 3 to top 5 aren't there. Like Mitchell de Jong is 10th. And I don't even see, what's his name, Hutu. He's not even in the top 10.
I think he had some kind of internet issues, if I'm not mistaken.
Aha.
And Mitchell, I believe, had like an incident in turn 1. I kind of put that note in there about the Simon Racing Report podcast. I listened to it the other day on the drive home from work, and they go in good detail about pretty much every incident, every event that happens during those races. So I really enjoyed it. I don't really follow the series. I know a lot of us don't, but it seems super highly competitive, and they give a good breakdown of what's going on.
I try to on occasion. I try to watch a race here and there. I just mainly don't have time. What was that podcast again, Will? Simon what?
It's Simon Racing Report podcast.
Yeah. All right, Chris, let's talk Indy 50.
Yeah, I actually got to run one of these. So Kevin Bobbitt posted in the forums last weekend a special test race prior to the Indy 500 called the Indy 50. They were held on May 12th, 13th, in the identical time slots of the Indy 500. Kevin also noted participants who complete at least 25% of the race distance will receive the highly coveted iTested award. It's rarely offered, so don't miss the opportunity. We'll be utilizing different US-based servers for this test event. And there's a couple... so yeah, I said I did run one of these. I think it was the one Saturday morning. And I applaud iRacing for doing this because it's so smart. I don't know why they haven't done it earlier. Run these test events, these short little events at the exact same times that you're going to kick off the real thing, since they've been having so many problems with server issues with these big events.
Yeah, test run.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me and Chris are gonna run together for the Indy 500 on Sunday. We've been doing some practicing and stuff. The set feels pretty good on our own. I haven't had a chance to run it in traffic though.
Yeah, and I checked for that award, and it's there. It's iTested with a little check mark that says held
Cool.
load test Indy 500 testing series. So yeah, hopefully they keep doing this with other big events. And there's also a couple of posts regarding how close this race is shaping up to be. The qualifying times are ridiculously tight and just keep getting tighter.
Yeah. 39.0s. The top... yeah, it's crazy. It's the top 28 are all 39.0s. The top 33 are within 1/10 of each other.
Yeah,
1/10
second.
the entire field.
That's ridiculous. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. But these cards do seem to draft pretty well. So, God, man, all these cars
How
such close speeds, and
how much running practice have you done in traffic, Chris? I haven't, like I
not
said, I haven't been
heavy
able to run.
traffic. Yes, I ran
Okay.
that 50, but most of it was just laying back, just trying to learn how to drive the car. I didn't race much. I finished 10th, I think, but that was just because there was a giant wreck that took out like half the field.
And there is a bumping contest for sure for this top 33. Now you got to remember it's a 4-lap average for the queue, and they're within a tenth the entire field. Okay, so it's pretty amazing how tight it is to get into the top split. And this is one of the rare events in racing, in iRacing, where they don't do the split or the qualifying is done by time. It's not by iRating.
I think
Yeah,
that's
so, yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, so we're looking at the top split basically, and
Right.
all
If you
of
look
them
at
are,
the
yeah,
top
separated by
33, there's
a
your
couple
top split.
tenths.
Yeah, and if you notice, the top 3 are all from Indiana, so I think they got some good representation there.
Yeah, that's right. Get them, Indiana boys.
Yeah, I recognize some names in there in the top 33, like our friend of the podcast, James Swinbanks from Australia. He's barely in there. On this page, he's listed 29th out of 33.
That's something to hang your hat on, just to be on that list on this top page.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Doug Hunt Jr. from iRacing posted up some changes or adjustments to the special event schedule. Nürburgring 24 will be adding a second 24-hour time slot. That means there'll be 2 race times on Saturday. They also added Mercedes and Ferrari GT3s to the lineup. Indy 500, they're using the new Dallara car. There'll be 4 time slots over the weekend. This Saturday, there's 3 of them and 1 on Sunday. 6 hours at the Glen canceled because we don't want it too close to the quarterly build.
A side note on that, Mike. I forget the guy's name. I was actually listening to the Rutgers Kev podcast. They talked about one of the guys. He's going to be hosting a 6 hours at the Glen. I think in the time slot that the official race was supposed to be. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, I'm sure somebody would.
But it's on the form somewhere. I just wanted to put that out there.
Kings Royal, they're going to take that out of the special events, and instead they're going to adjust it, the World of Outlaw Craftsman Sprint Car Series, to run the 410s at Eldora for that entire week. So Kings Royal is now part of the regular schedule, not a special event. Spa 24 adding a second time slot. Le Mans, they've decided to take the Le Mans 24-hour event and put it inside the Le Mans Endurance Series. It still is a 24-hour race, but as part of an official series, the Le Mans Endurance Series, it's not a standalone special event. And that's it. All right, Will, you're next. Subaru.
Yeah, so there was a picture that popped up, I think, in our group messenger earlier on the week. It was floating around Facebook. I posted up on our Twitter of what looks like the new Subaru GRC. Looking like they're doing the figure 8 at Irwindale with a jump in the middle. I know it's a little speculation. There's no 100% confirmation that I'm aware of for this photo, but it's been floating around. Nobody's denied it. It looks really, really good. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I hope they either do a really good new GRC track at Irwindale, or maybe do an update version of the figure 8 that has a jump across the center. Would be a lot of fun. So some cool stuff leaking out there.
Yeah, another guy put it on Reddit. We found it over there too. But it's a legit screenshot. I mean, it's got the iRacing.com, watermark in the corner. It sure looks like a proper screenshot. And you can see the word Irwindale Speedway on the wall in the background, so you know it's that track.
Yeah, it looks like it was intentional the way it lines up with the car jumping over the name of the track and everything. it looks pretty legit. I'm surprised there's not a paint job on the car. I feel like if it was something they were going to do for something promotional, they would have done that.
Right. It's white.
But I feel like it might have been something like somebody shared with a friend that ended up sneaking out.
All right. Looking forward to that. Chris, what do you got for All-Star for the Peak Boys?
Yeah, next is a forum post by Ray Alfala. He posted info on the All-Star race being hosted by LSR TV. They'll be on right after we're done with the podcast tonight. They will start with an open race for peak drivers, and the top 20 Road to Pro do not meet the requirements for the All-Star race. And the requirements are former All-Star race winners, peak champions, peak winners since 2016, top 10 All-Star Open finishers, 2 All-Star Open hard chargers, and special invites.
Special invite like Tyler Hudson, for example.
Yeah, they gotta fill out the field somehow.
Yeah, PJ and Jake Sturgios I see on the list. But a lot of should be a good race. They run tonight.
Yeah, and as part, so along with this post, he also posted a setup for Charlotte for people to run and test out. I'm sure it's not, their exact thing, obviously, but I bet it's pretty decent.
He says it's for the Open and the All-Star, so it's got to be a decent set. I put it up on our team drive so we could have something to start the week with for Charlotte. All right, Tony, you're next with Season 3 schedule final request.
Yeah. Tyler Hudson posted up some final requests for any changes for the series. But it looks like that deadline has come and gone. He was reaching out to the community, asking for him, but the deadline was May 9th.
We missed that.
Yeah. Now, I'm looking at about 5 different links to various ones, and I noticed there's a couple. He posted up and said, "Hey, get your requests in for the season. Don't make it personal. Make it a joint effort over the whole community." And then he reposted again, like, "Hey guys, last chance," but there was like that was it. That was the only post on that whole thread. Nobody replied to it, or those series just that dead, or people are, you're gonna have a series. It's just Tyler or somebody in the background there is just gonna make it up, and everybody's just gonna have to be happy.
Yeah, I think this was the final follow up on ones he hadn't got a schedule for. Yeah.
Okay. But hey, this is we've talked about it a lot in the past. One of the cool things about iRacing is, well, hey, you get a say in how you want things done, and you don't like it, get your voice heard.
Yeah, you can't complain about it if you don't participate. That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it takes 2 minutes, throw a couple keystrokes on the keyboard, and get heard.
All right, so I'll take the next one here. Matt Busa has put up some stats, the all-time NIS fixed stats, and very interesting information. I was actually part of the top 10 list on not just one, but 2 different lists that he compiled. Some very fascinating information. The data set is from 2013 through 2018. There's been 13,052 drivers who made a NIS fixed start. 2,355 drivers have scored a win. That's 18%. There's been over 23 million combined laps run. And there's been over 1.2 total million incidents collected. And I'm a bit embarrassed to say, guys, that I'm number 1 on the very first list that he puts out. It's a top 10 list for the most incidents, and I'm listed as number 1 with 2,989. I think I'm embarrassed.
Well, Mike, stop crashing.
I mean, if you look at the list right next to it for most starts, you're 4th on that list. And the most incidents and most starts, they're shuffled a little bit, but they have pretty much an identical top 5.
Yeah, the most incidents and the most starts are basically the same guys. And that makes sense, right?
It does, but Mike, you should also be proud because if you go and look at our division split, Chris is definitely following in your footsteps with the most starts and most incidents.
I just wish I wasn't number 1. I mean, surely there's got to be one guy that has had more.
Yeah, that's like, it's cool to be number
David
1
doesn't
in
run
something,
enough.
but yeah, to be number 1, like you are the number 1 all time ever in the like what last 5 years of people who run NIS and incidents.
Yep, that's exactly the truth.
Yeah, I mean
Number
all the
1
other
on that
numbers
list.
justify it still, but still, you're number 1.
I almost feel like he doesn't like you because, like, I feel like I would have started that list with most wins, most polls, and then just trickled into the fun ones like most incidents. He's like,
Yeah,
no,
the very first,
Mike Ellis is the
poll.
first name you see.
First
for
name you
most
see
wrecks.
on the list. Yep.
I think we need to make you a special paint or something, just to let people know.
Oh my gosh.
You're number 1.
But 435 starts. That's a lot. I had no idea. And you think about that. There's 36 weeks a season. 5 years, but 435 starts. Wow. Most wins. Tyler Hudson with 60. Matt Busa 59. Patrick Shelton 47. So that's pretty impressive. Most laps led, Matt Busa. 13,408 laps led by him. Best average finish, Tyler Hudson with a 5th. Pretty crazy stats. I love looking at stuff like this, but I was caught really off guard, guys, by having the most incidents. And I don't feel like I'm out one of those wreckers. Maybe the guys I drive with might say something otherwise, but I don't know.
I think it's just one of those things where it's just you do enough starts, you're bound to get incidents.
And I used to start a lot because I used to work from home, and I would start almost every race. For several seasons, I did that. But now I don't get as many starts a week because of my job. So it's kind of changed, but man, that is something that threw me off. All right, Will, what's up next?
All right, so Tyler Hudson was posted in the forums about potential Dirt Series changes. So he posted in the general Dirt discussions that they're looking at putting the World of Outlaw series, the World of Outlaw late models and sprint cars that are A-class, back down to a B-class license. Tyler stated, this would more than double the amount of eligible drivers to compete in these two series where it sits currently. They're also looking at making the December to March season, so I would say season 1 of the 2019 calendar, the 12-week official series, making that the qualifying series for the World of Outlaw Pro Championship prior to the 2019 season. Tyler mentioned, our hope would be to bump the official series back to A-class by the 2019 season 1. So if the qualifying series is A-class, but we have 2 seasons to evaluate and make this decision.
Well, they got to do something right because they don't have enough people running it.
Yeah, so basically, if you have a dirt license, you have to have an A license to run the 410 and super late model in the World of Outlaw series. And they're looking at bumping that back to a B just because participation is low. I kind of wrote a little piece here so I wouldn't get sidetracked or distracted. I think it is good they're willing to try something new. I do feel it is sad that there are so many drivers with a B-class license that are not pushing for an A-class to run in that series. And I feel like that's something that they need to promote. I feel like this is something they need to do to promote the participation in that weekly series. I also love the idea of using the 12-week series to qualify for the Pro Series. I feel like it's just the carrot they need at the end of the string to promote that series and just participation as a whole. I do hope this works as intended. I feel like there's a lot of really good benefits for iRacing as a whole.
Yeah. Well, at least they're making adjustments and not just letting it wither and die away. That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him like I don't know. It's been a little while since I've been to a dirt race, but I think there was. I don't remember seeing. I've seen simulators and stuff at tracks, but I don't remember anything from iRacing. I think that's where they need to be going instead of making adjustments to try to get more people in the series. They need to get representation out to dirt tracks and show off what they have because I think there's tons of people out there that would love to get on here and race on dirt on iRacing that have no clue it even exists.
Just drive the participation, you're saying.
Yeah, there's nothing out there. I think I still played before the iRacing. I still played. I think it was Dirt Track Racing for the PlayStation 2. I think you get it for the PlayStation 2 and PC. That was probably the best place to go drive a late model until I found iRacing. The games don't exist.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bigger problem with the sim as a whole. If you look at all of the official series, most of them are dead most of the time, other than the premier, like NIS and kind of like the community ones. And I feel like that's really sad. I think a lot of it is there's a lot of pressure, I feel like, to maintain a good I rating. And say a series, I know I refer to the Silver Crown cars a lot. Nobody races those, and I feel like it's not that hard of a car to drive. It is a B license. I think people just don't want to put in the effort to make a setup to be competitive. And I feel like everybody just wants to flock to a lot of these fixed series. And I think incorporating this weekly series into qualifying for the Pro Series will get more of those caliber drivers racing more often, which will have a higher car count. I don't know. I just feel like focusing on those weekly series is one of the most important things they could do because I think it's the most underappreciated thing they offer us.
Yeah, I'm one of those people when it comes to not racing stuff that's not fixed. I know I think it's part of the problem, but I do wish that some more of the series were fixed or they had because they can't really break them into two different series if the participation isn't there. But if I'm running something else for the most part, like NIS, but I want to run something for fun on the side and dabble in some of this stuff, I don't have time to mess with a car. I don't want to get. I'm having a hard enough time, racing somebody with unequal equipment. I don't want to feel like I have to spend hours on a setup to compete, basically.
Well, I feel like me personally, say there's a race with, I'm going to do Silver Crown again, 30 guys at Pocono. I feel like with the fixed setup they give me, I'm okay with running 10th or 7th or even 13th, 14th as long as I'm having good racing. And I feel like once people flock away from those, you get smaller fields, so it's spread apart. So maybe a second off the pace now is me running by myself, and that's no fun, so that's even worse. I don't know what they could do to make those series better. I feel like this is a step in the right direction, and I think trying something new is really fun and exciting. I don't know what you could do for every series, but at least utilize these pro championships to promote the sim in general.
Yeah, I think they're so cool, but I'm part of the problem because I'm not racing them. So yeah, hopefully they figure it out.
Yeah, you're part of the problem.
Yeah, I want to be there when I want to race them, but I'm not racing them. So yeah, I don't know what the answer is.
All right, let's keep going. Chris, you found a good video here.
Oh yeah, speaking of dirt, and my favorite thing, late models. This is a quick video. I don't know how you find this. I just have the Facebook link for Terry Jacoby posted it, but if you guys have an easier way to get to it, if the people can't find Terry Jacoby, go ahead and let us know. But it's basically a couple of super late models that get together. One of them gets airborne and lands on top of a telephone pole and gets impaled. I mean, it's hilarious.
Like literally impaled.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know they had that kind of physics in the telephone poles, but I guess you have to. If you can run into on the bottom, I guess you can get impaled if you can get the car high enough.
It's a pretty impressive video. I mean, the car is high enough to impale on the top of the pole, but the pole doesn't move. It doesn't even sway or budge or anything. It's like solid.
Yeah, they got to work on their pole physics just a little bit in case this
let's
happens
take the
again.
Pole down. Let it fall. The wires come down and everything.
I want to see sparks from the wires and everything.
All right, let's keep moving. Tony, you're next. Week 2 for a contest.
Yeah, that contest is the Mazda Hot Lap Challenge. We talked about this one just before it started. and they're into week 2 at Lime Rock Park, and that is May 25th to May 26th. Now this is an online. They have 2 schedules. Sorry, online and at track. So you have 2 ways to compete and 2 ways to enter.
Just from the
and
time attack. It's a time attack thing.
yeah, I guess I should probably mention that as well. It is a time attack, and I believe the grand prize is a test in a Global Mazda MX-5 Cup car later in 2019. So
Yeah.
um,
And a trip to the Daytona 24.
oh yes, there it is, a VIP trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, geez. So
Go get it.
absolutely. And where are we at next? They say June 29th to July 1st is they'll be racing at Watkins Glen. So
It's about once a month that this comes up. So anyway, it's coming up next week or the week after.
yeah, lots of fun if you're a road guy and you got what it takes, or you think you got what it takes, give it a shot.
All right, next up, a lot of people getting a crash of the sim, a hard crash. And Chris, I think you had some of this week. It turned out it was the EAC, which is the Easy Anti-Cheat. And apparently one of the updates to the Easy Anti-Cheat was causing it. They did roll it back, and from what I understand, it's fixed.
Yeah, I haven't had any problems since. So, yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah, so Easy Anti-Cheat apparently is still there and working. All right, Chris, you got another little tidbit about NASCAR and their iRacing involvement.
Yeah, and this comes from an article by Adam Stern, and the basic gist of the article is how the NASCAR owners are kind of frustrated that NASCAR is doing kind of a crappy job keeping up with the times. We're still, have the same old show we've been putting on, and they need to, modernize it a bit. And yeah,
I think the gist of it was the article was more about at 2020 is when the track agreements are up and the charter agreements are up, and that's going to be a big renegotiation phase in 2020. And there's a lot of talk of the teams might even split off or form some kind of a separate series if they can't get the TV money, and maybe that's why NASCAR bought IRCA so that they couldn't have a series to go to. It was one of the speculations, but at the end of the article there was something written there, some quotes from none other than Kaufman, who is the owner or partial owner of the Chip Ganassi team, about iRacing.
Yeah. So the quote from Kaufman says, when it comes to having more cohesive collaboration, Kaufman was quick to point out that the new youth-based esports initiative announced last week by NASCAR and iRacing included no involvement from teams. He added that that NASCAR has not helped the RTA with its own esports initiative, which is a pro iRacing league featuring players who would be drafted by the actual teams. They just weren't interested in working with us and aggressively smothered our initiative, Kaufman said. And so yeah, this is referring to like the teams from Richmond and the deal that they're working on, right?
Well, I think that was almost a separate thing from Rob Kaufman was working on. He was trying to get the teams to hire sim drivers, and they would run a league. And this quote from him where he says, NASCAR aggressively smothered our initiative. Smothered our initiative, to me, sounds like it might not be happening. Yeah.
Well, did you take that? See, when I read it, I kind of took it like what NASCAR is doing now with iRacing is kind of separate from what he was wanting. Like he had already brought this to NASCAR, and they just said, "No, that's stupid."
Yeah, we're doing
now NASCAR's kind of doing their own thing.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, an update. I don't think it's a good update for us, but it'll all work out.
Yeah, I'm still hopeful.
All right, Will, tell us about the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so yesterday I had to do some run around Charlotte, had some time to kill, and went to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I was kind of limited in my time, unfortunately, so I'll have to make another trip. But I got to take a peek at their iRacing setup, and it looks really cool. They have about 8 full size Cup cars, with what look like G27s and one monitor in them. It's kind of weird. It looks like the driver sits and is driving on the passenger side, but somebody goes in through the driver's side to help them get set up. So it's a little strange, but it's a really cool setup. They have 8 full size cars, so enough to have a good time there. And they were just running around Charlotte in cars that looked just like the Cup car you were sitting in. So if you got in Kyle Busch's car, you were driving Kyle Busch's car on the sim. It looked like it was just like a practice. But yeah, it was kind of fun to see. I think while I was there, I think somebody in Almirola's car just destroyed the Byron car, which was kind of funny. But yeah, it was really cool. The best lap time for the day while I was there was a 30.2. So I feel like any one of us on the team here could have easily shadowed that.
Yeah, I was just curious. It must be some kind of custom interface. It's not your typical iRacing launch from the webpage, right?
You know, I honestly think it might just be like a hidden practice session or something, because the track really looked rubber down. Like maybe they start with the fresh track every day in a practice session with these cars just sitting on pit road that we can't see.
An 8-hour practice, yeah.
Is something of that nature. And then what was really cool is they had like 2 display monitors. One that looked like it was using camera 1, focusing on excitement, the way you could kind of control the camera controls. Because it would bounce off of each car as there was some kind of excitement or wrecking or anything of that nature. So, and then they had like a nice little scoreboard for the people who were out there, and you could log your name. And I'm not sure how that part of it worked, but it was iRacing 100%. It was branded iRacing, and I'm gonna have to give it a shot one time. It feels kind of silly to pay to use their simulator when I got a nicer setup at home.
You just need to go in there and school them though, and get the top speed of the day.
Yeah, I saw I think like it was a 30.2. Yeah, it was a 30.2, and I'm like, damn, I could beat that. I was really tempted, but I had other things to do. I'll make it down there one time.
Probably a business like testing thing that iRacing set up there. It only works a certain way, and it's set that way. It's only programmed
It's like an
for
offline setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was I guess I was told they actually have leagues that will race there. They have like their own league or something. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have more simulators stashed away somewhere, because an 8-man league's kind of small. But yeah, I want to try to look into that just to give it a shot and check it out again.
All right, moving on. Facebook. I found this post on one of the Facebook groups, and I had to chime in because the guy says, does iRacing allow account selling? I have an account with over $325 worth of cars and tracks that I'm looking to get rid of for only $150. And let the bidding start, so to speak. What do you guys think? Is this kosher?
Nope.
I've been following you on this one, Mike, because I guess those people don't understand that if iRacing ever went away, they don't own anything from it.
Well, yeah, I posted up, and as well as some other people, to let these guys know that here's what I put. Your account is worth nothing. There is no value to it at all. You're leasing the content. So the answer is no, you cannot sell your account.
You could sell it if somebody wants to buy it, but that's up to them, I guess.
I know when I bought my Aboto, the guys that were getting rid of their stuff, they mentioned to me, like, hey man, I wish I could sell my account. I have all these tracks and all of this and that. I just don't use it, and I already had my stuff, so I didn't think nothing of it. But I was just curious, like, what was to stop me from giving him $100, getting his logins, messaging iRacing and saying like, hey, I had a name change. Just seems
well, a lot
like
of people
possible,
here posted.
but it's kind of weird.
Yeah, a lot of people posted. That's all these scenarios just like that. Oh, I can move all of a different IP address, or I use my grandma's credit card, so I'm changing my name, and there's all these different things that you can do to really get away with this, but in the spirit of the rule, it is against the rules.
I wouldn't mind. I feel like the one thing that kind of sticks out to me here is how much content has been paid for that just is wasted. I know iRacing would never do it, but I just feel like it'd be really cool if, say, I have to go away from iRacing. I'm mad. I don't want to. I got life stuff. I want to donate my content back to the public, divvy it up, give it to somebody randomly. I don't care. But to get off that, take it away from my account so I can't use it at that point because someone else has it. But I bet you there's a ton of people out there who have the that are just collecting dust.
They got to make money one way or another. So I'm fine with how they're charging for it. And yeah, if they don't keep the servers up and pay the server bill, nobody has iRacing,
If you look at it, I was gone for 2 or 3 years, and I almost have everything on iRacing except for the new stuff that's come out.
You came back and got it back.
And I've come back and added to it, but that was I probably have 12 to $2,000, probably $1,200 to $2,000 worth of stuff bought.
Still way cheaper than a real race car.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this thread went a little crazy. One guy actually was so upset about it that he actually wrote an email to iRacing stewards and reported the thread that somebody was trying to sell their account. And he posted up a picture of the email that he got back from iRacing about it.
What a snitch.
Yeah, total snitch. And then everyone called him out for it.
Snitches end up in ditches.
Yeah, iRacing had told him, "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will look into this further." All right. Yeah, pretty crazy. I was trying out there to tell him, how it works. Tony, what do you got next?
Well, looks to me like iRacing was doing a little bit of house cleaning. There's a picture of Kevin Lanarelli up with his very sophisticated duster. Actually, he was out spending the day recording cars, capturing the sound. So I imagine there's going to be a bit of an update to how some of the cars sound. I couldn't figure out I didn't see anyways where they were doing this or what cars they were recording.
Yeah, he kept it a mystery pretty much.
Yeah.
I tweeted at him with our account. I speculated it's karts. That's a very narrow track. There's rubber laid down. And a lot of karting tracks will utilize like supermoto bikes. So they'll have a section of dirt that goes on and off the asphalt, kind of a back and forth thing. So my speculation is karting. He tweeted us back, kind of joking it off, but
we'll see. You might have called it. All right, Chris, what's next?
Next, we have looks like John Hammer was on the forums, and he posted. I haven't been able to go through the videos to see how in depth they are, but he's posted some setup help. Yeah. So I see that he's posted like how to use like mocap and how to get the data from it, use the data, but it goes completely into detail, like how he builds his setups.
Well, he basically dumped all his information, his Motec profiles, his YouTube videos on how to use them for telemetry and how to, analyze, ride heights and camber and that kind of stuff, and other information, other documents and whatnot, a testing report form, a crew chief sheet, and many other things. And so, boy, what a gold mine for somebody who wants to learn about setups and telemetry. Guess what? This is a gold mine. This is just a perfect starting point for somebody that wants to do that.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't had a chance to check out many of the videos yet, but it's all fairly bite-sized too. It's really hard to find good information on this stuff that's not just overkill or isn't enough. This seems like he's done a really good job of getting just the right information without that overkill.
Yeah. Well, good job, John, getting that out there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's just trying to share and give back to the community, is what he told me, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to help a ton of people. Yeah, we need more people like that sharing things and just helping others get better.
All right, we got just a little bit left. We're running a little late, but we'll do the hardware. So let's jump right on it. I'm going to take the next one. Apple jumping on the virtual reality train by bringing us an 8K VR goggle. And this was an article on medium.com I found. And it basically says it's been long rumored that Apple is working on a VR headset. But recently the rumors got much more interesting. And so it's a very long article that just talks about, what Apple has in store, if it's going to be, competitive with the other VR makers out there. I mean, what do you guys think? I am an Apple guy. I would love Apple VR headset.
I'm pretty excited about this because when Apple does it right, this is what they do best. They don't invent stuff. They take something that's already there and make it the best. I mean, that's what they did with smartphones, right? They didn't invent the smartphone. They just took the smartphone and made it the best one that it was ever made.
Yeah, but good luck with the price tag on that one, probably.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Like everything Apple, I'm sure this thing's going to cost twice as much as anything else.
Then they'll add like a $700 friggin' charge cord or something that only works with that, and then they'll sell you, a $15,000 app to run the damn thing.
And its own separate earphones.
I feel like we know who likes and doesn't like Apple now.
Yeah,
like Apple, it's just tough.
Oh yeah, I love and hate them for sure. But yeah, they'll probably. I'm pretty hopeful they'll probably come out with something pretty awesome. I'm assuming.
I've been watching a lot on the VR stuff, and I think it's cool to have more products out there, more competition, just bring costs down, kind of develop it, because the Oculus isn't perfect, but I don't think I could ever race without it. So I'm like super excited for whatever comes with that next generation of VR.
Yep. All right, Tony, you got the next one.
Okay. Yeah, this is from the Ultimate Sim Hardware Facebook page. Looks like somebody's made adapters for wheels for Logitech Thrustmaster. So you can put your favorite wheel onto these.
Like a real steering wheel.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Get a real steering wheel and slap it onto your Logitech, or I think there's a lot of there's options for Thrustmaster, but I don't believe there's a whole lot for the Logitech wheelbases. So this is really cool. Now I didn't notice if there's a price
eBay link.
Oh, there it is, right there. What do we got? £22.99 pounds. So this is obviously out of the UK.
But yeah, it looks like he might have 3D printed them or something. But it's just like a little spacer adapter kind of thing, and from what I can see here, it looks like you can put almost any kind of wheel on it.
Yeah, it looks like it definitely gives you lots of options, and it looks well tooled. It's they're made out of aluminum, and it looks like the guy's done a nice job on these things.
All right, let's go to the last topic, Will.
Yeah, so it looks like we have a new adaptive gaming controller from Xbox. And there was some talk about what it could do for iRacing in the forums. It looks like it's kind of hard to explain. It's a controller that looks odd, but you have different 3.5 millimeter jacks that you could input to kind of put your own controls in. I didn't really get a chance to go more into detail on it.
It's kind of crazy. It's huge, and it looks like two little,
looks like
drum pads or like a DJ pad or something like that. And if you check the video out, this is for people that have disabilities, and it allows them to play video games when maybe they don't have full use of all their, hands and arms and coordination and stuff like that. And so you can map you touching these touch controllers, which are big round pads about 6-inch diameters. There's 2 of them. And you can map that to steering. Like if we were going to race with this, you could have one pad be your left-right steering, and the other one would be your gas brake, you know. And people who are disabled, it really gives them some other options for how to control games.
This is so awesome. And the only thing I can think of is, why haven't they done something like this sooner? I mean, it's up, you know, they got it going now, and good on them. But this is really cool. It looks really neat.
Tony, there has I don't know if any of you guys knows about this. There's a foundation. It's called Able Gamers. They help out handicap people with gaming for all types of gaming, and they do different types of things. Like you can, if you're handicapped or disabled, you can apply to this foundation, and they'll come up with a way to adapt a game hardware to your needs.
They have another thing too. If you look at the picture down towards the bottom, it's a thing that you put your knee between. It has 2 little sensors that he mounted below the desk, and you can put your knee or leg up between those 2 sensors and move your knee like left or right and actually steer with that. And so it has another thing that you can put by your head. It's like a little wand. If you look up by his head, you'll see it by his ear, and you can move or control it with that as well. So it's got some optional items that you can use for certain people that have, you know, like a quadriplegic. Maybe he can nod his head, and you can use the nodding as a gas brake and that kind of thing. Really cool. All right, that's the last topic. Let's get into final thoughts. Chris Scales, you're up first.
We're gonna be doing some racing tonight. We're doing our own version of the All-Star race, so looking forward to that. It's gonna be fun to race with some of y'all, because we don't get to race together very often, at least not on the same track.
All-Star, that'll be fun. Yeah, let's do that tonight. Yeah, and it's an off week with NIS, so we're kind of looking for something to do, right?
Yeah. Oh, and looking forward to the peak race next week. They'll be at Charlotte. We'll be at Charlotte. That should be fun. I said I like it when their week aligns with ours. It makes me much more likely to watch.
Yep. All right, Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
Just looking forward to getting to next week's races. I haven't been talking much on the podcast tonight. I'm still setting up my whole system here with the new build that I just did, my hardware. So apologize for not giving a lot of opinions tonight, but just looking forward to next week.
Yeah, the new computer build went fairly well. I mean, it's up and running, right?
Yeah, everything's getting up and running. I'm just trying. I've been, over the time we're here, I've been setting up OBS while we've been talking. So I'm trying to get my stream page back up and running. But yeah, had a little bit problems with the motherboard when I first installed everything, so now running on a Ryzen 7 chip, so 2nd gen chip, so we're good.
Yep. All right, and David and I just went through before the podcast a new .com parts list for myself, because I'm starting to think about building a new PC. We put together a quick list. It was about 2,300. Crazy stuff. Okay, Tony Groves, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm jumping on this whole building stuff bandwagon as well. I'm starting to slowly migrate away from my severely redneck setup. I was able to get away from sticking my super comfortable Crocs underneath my office chair to keep it from stop rolling, and mounted myself an actual seat for my car. It's not a racing seat, but nice and comfy. Loving it. Last week sucked. Actually, a lot of these last few weeks have sucked because my real life has just been way too busy for my liking. Really hoping that slows down so I can get some more racing in. Been definitely missing it. So Really looking forward to tonight's race. It's going to be a lot of fun hanging out on track with all you guys. And then, yeah, hopefully things slow down next week so I can make more than one start or make more than no starts like what I've been doing lately.
Yeah, and I saw that seat, and I saw the seat belt receptacle, and I'm like, wow, that's a real seat out of a real car.
Yeah, I was, you know, I do a lot of, quote unquote rednecky things because I'm freaking cheap. So this seat here, it cost me about $50, and I didn't have to go to a junkyard to rip it out myself. It was already ripped out, and it's actually in really, really good shape. But it's just a seat out of an old Grand Am. Perfect.
Great. Well, yeah, the rig is looking nice. And then, Greg, yours is looking really good, too. We need a full report from you once you get it all finished. All right, Will Gibson, final thoughts.
Man, keep hitting the
Yeah, thanks for that. And the show notes, yeah, if you guys want to see our links that we talk about on the show, we have a bit.ly link. And so check our social media pages for that link. Should be, in the description of the podcast as well. But you can go there and then check and look at all these different things that we're looking at, the videos, the hardware, whatever. And so some of our users have asked for that. All right, for me, final thoughts is, boy, NASCAR off week, and I'm like not sure what to do with myself. And I ended up actually doing some stuff with the family last night and not doing my normal thing. And it was a little different, but it is a needed off week. This is the last one for a while, I think, and so we're going to have a lot of racing coming up. Looking forward to Charlotte. So I'm going to miss the Indy 500 because of my work schedule. First time I've missed it in a while, but I don't even own the car, and I got to work. So, and I'm not going to get up Sunday so early either. So, looks like I'll miss it. So with that being said, I think that's it. We'll see you later.